homework time. Yes, happy homework time is here once again. So lesson 34. Let's start by putting our name down here. Before we get into anything, I'll put my name. And how's about you put yours? All right. And then today's date, I'll write today. You write the actual date, where and when you are. So you see here we're making a bit of a shift. So we are laying aside division to go and work on some multiplication, but different multiplication. We're doing 2-digit multiplication times 2-digit. So you have 2-digit number multiplied by a 2-digit number. So far we did 1-digit numbers times a 1, 2, 3, or 4-digit number. This is different. In fact, you'll only have 2 lessons here, lessons 37, 38, that really deal with the standard algorithm for this. So this is kind of a hang on tight, here we go through this multiplication. So let's do this. We're going to use the associative property to rewrite each expression, solve using this, and then complete the number sentences. I'd like to do over here first so we can see what we're doing. And this is going to look very familiar. Look, 20 times 34. Oh, we can decompose that 20 as 2 times 10, right? And then use the associative property to group together 10 times 34, right? Which leaves 2 times 10 times 34. And then, and I'm going to have to add another line here, let's do 10 times 34. So it'll leave us with 2 times, well, right, we're just shifting it up. You remember we did all that stuff there back at the beginning of the year with place values, so 340. Now I bet because there's no regrouping, you can actually do that in your head. What is 2 times 340? Well, just double the digits, right? Yeah, so you got it, 680. You see that? 680. 3 doubled is 6, 4 doubled is 8, 0 is 0. So 680. So now I think it'll be a little easier to do with the dis if we start off with 34, right? So 1, 2, 3 tens and 1, 2, 3, 4 ones. And notice, what did we do first? We did the times 10. Okay. So times 10, we're just doing this, just moving it up, right? Right in the times 10 slide. Remember that from oh so long ago? All right, so these 3 tens times 10 is 300s. The 4 ones times 10 is 4 tens. And now we're multiplying it by 2, so we're just going to double what we have here. So instead of 3, there will be 6. And instead of 4, there will be 8. And lo and behold, look what we have. 600, 8 tens, 0 ones. 680, just like we got over there. Amazing! Look at that. And so number 1 is done, or 1A. Let's go on to 1B. All right, so 1B looks pretty similar. 30 times 34 we're doing this time. And again, I want to start over here. I think it makes doing the dis easier. So we have the 30 we're going to decompose as 3 times 10, which is still just times 34. Just writing that down as it was. And then we're using the associative property to associate different numbers together here in multiplication. So instead of 3 times 10, it'll be 3 times 10 times 34. There we go. Okay, and again, I'd like to add another line here so we could say, okay, well, this is the same as 3 times 340. And so what is that going to be? Now this one, because it's 3 times, we can't do it so easily in our head, but we can break it down. Let's do that over here. 3 times 40, that's 3 40s is 40, 80, 120, right? 120. And 3 300s, 300, 600, 900. Ah, yes. So what should I end up here? I'm basically doing partial products, right? I should end up with 2, and that's 10, right? With 1020. All right, so this is kind of my modified version of doing this so you understand really well what we're doing. So what I did was I started off with 34, right? And I'm going to multiply that by 30. So let me draw out 34. 1, 2, 3 tens, and 1, 2, 3, 4 ones. And then I did the 10 times 34 first, right? So just riding that times 10 slide, because each place value is 10 times greater than the one preceding it. Okay, so the 3 tens times 10 is 3 hundreds. The 4 ones times 10, 2, 3, 4 is 4 tens. And then I tripled that, right? I did 3 times this 340. So I'll just go give it a second row of hundreds and then a third row of hundreds. And then with the tens here, I'll do a second row of tens and a third row of tens. But I do see I'm not quite done because there's a need for regrouping here in the tens place. I have 12 tens, right? So 10 of these tens, drawing very carefully here, I can regroup over here as 100. And so that leaves me with, oh, now look at those hundreds. There are 10 of them. Oh, beauteous. So what can I do with 10 hundreds? That's right, regroup them as 1,000. So now I have, I'll write it down here at the bottom, 1,000. Do I have any hundreds left after regrouping? No. I do have these 2 tens left, right? And I multiplied out all my ones, so 0 there. Oh, and look, it's the same as what we got by doing it kind of as partial products in our head. So we can see very clearly what we're doing here in the multiplication. Let's go on and see what treasures await us. And in 1C, you see we're doing it again. This time just slightly changing up the numbers, keeping them nice and small though. We have 42 we're multiplying by 30, okay? So let's do it over here. Now you see we're going to decompose the 30 as, right, 3 times 10, which is being multiplied by 42. Using the associative property, we group them or associate them together differently to make the work a little easier for ourselves. So 3 times 10 times 42, which is 3 times, what's this? It just shifts up a place, right? Rise the time 10 slide there, so 420. And as we did in the last ones, I'd like to go ahead and solve this before we do the place value chart. So think about it. 3 times 20, well, that's easy, right? 20, 40, 60. Okay, so 60. And then 3 times 400, 400, 800, 1200. Ah, so actually I don't even need to really write out addition here. I can just do that, right? Because there's no regrouping. So 1,260. That's good to know. All right, so now let's go ahead and do it out here with place value dis. So we're starting with 42. So 1, 2, 3, 4 tens and 2 ones. The first thing we did was what? We multiplied by 10. So they're going to ride the times 10 slide. And so the 4 tens times 10 is 4 hundreds. And the 2 ones times 10 is 2 tens. And then we multiplied that. You see there's the 420, right? Then we multiplied that 420 times 3. So I have 1 row of hundreds, so I'll add a second row of hundreds and a third row of 400s. And I'll do the same thing over here with these 2 tens. I'll add a second row and a third row. And you notice we have 1260. Oh, that's what we end up with. But to make the place value disk kind of look right, I'm not going to leave 1200s. I need to regroup these 1000s as 1000. So now I have what I was looking for. I have 1200s left, 6 tens, and 0 ones, 1260, 1260. All is well and all is well. Let's go on. Well, all right, so in number 2 we're doing the same thing, but now they've taken away our little helps there. We have to do the whole thing ourselves. All right, so let's start off using the associative property and place value disk to solve. So with 20 times 16, first thing we know we're going to do is decompose that 20 as 2 times 10, right? And that's still times 16. And then we will use the associative property to say, well, that's 2 times 10 times 16. And the whole point here is to make the multiplication easier to do and to give you a way of doing it. All right, so that will be 2 times, well, what's this? 16 times 10? 160. And I bet we can double that in our heads right there, the 160. Can you? 100 doubled is 200. 60 doubled is 120. So 200 plus 120 is 320. Yes. And I probably should have like equal signs here before each of these just to be totally righteous. And then when we do this out with place value, we can see we're only going up to the hundreds here, so we don't need to make a thousands place. And I am going to use my shorthand H, T, O for hundreds, tens, and ones. All right. And so we started off with what? 16, right? So 110 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ones. And what do we do with it? We multiplied it by 10. So this is right in the times 10 slide. Times 10 times 10. All right, so the 110 times 10 is 100. The 6 ones times 10 is 6 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's right here. That's the 160, right? 100. 6 tens, 160. And then we did that times 2, so we doubled it. So instead of 100, we have 200. And now instead of 6 tens, I'm going to add in another 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I did it like that so that we could easily circle up. You saw it coming, right? These 10 tens, and regroup those over as 100. And now look at the magic here. We ended up with 3 hundreds, 2 tens, and 0 ones, 320, just as we got over there. All right, and now with the 40 times 32, I'm going to kind of start my answer over here to save space. So we take that 40, we know we'll want to decompose it as 4 times 10 to make the multiplication easier, which is being multiplied by 32, right? And then we'll use our good old friend, Mr. Associative Property, to say, well, let's associate the 10 times 32 together. That will make things easier. And then we're going to have 4 times, that's right, 320. And let's see if we can do that in our wee little heads. 4 times 20, well, we could do that. 20, 40, 60, 80. Okay, 80. And 4 times 300, oh, we can do that too. 300, 600, 900, 1200. So 1280. There's no regrouping there. It's nice and easy. 1280. And now we know we do need a thousands place in our chart here. So let's make our happy little chart. I'm going to do it, start it up here to conserve space for myself. So I'm going to need thousands, and then hundreds, tens, and ones. And there, and there. So I started off with 32, right? 1, 2, 3 tens, and 2 ones. And I multiplied that 32 by 10, which is nice and easy. Just ride that times 10 slide up to the next place value. Ride that times 10 slide up. So that left me with 3 hundreds and 2 tens. So that's the 320, right? And then I quadrupled that and multiplied it by 4. So I have one row of hundreds. Let me add a second row of hundreds, and a third, and a fourth. And same thing here. I have one row of tens, multiplied by 4, so a second row of tens, a third, and a fourth. And I see in the tens place there's no regrouping because I have 8 there, but I do see over here in the hundreds place I have 12 hundreds, right? So I can take 10 of those beauties and regroup them over to the thousands place. That leaves me with 1,000, yeah, 2 hundreds, 8 tens, 0 ones, 1,280. Ah, that's what I got here. So beautiful. You're learning how to multiply 2-digit by 2-digit numbers. Let's go see what number 3 has in store for us. Well, in number 3, we're to use the associative property without place value disk to solve. And if you're anything like myself and my students, you are saying yes. So let's do that. This is going to be so easy now. So 30 times 21, well, let's decompose that 30. We know what to do is 3 times 10, right? And that's still times 21. And then we can use the associative property to say, well, we can think of this as 3 times, and we'll first do 10 times 21, which is 3 times what? 21, shifted up a place, 210. And now because there's no regrouping, we can easily triple 210 in our heads. Triple the 10, it's 30. Triple the 200, it's 600. 30, 600, 600, 30. And boom, that's it. Yeah! All right, so now this one, the numbers are slightly larger, so it won't be quite as easy, but it will not exactly be challenging either. So let's go ahead and think of 60 as, decompose it as 6 times 10. And that's still being multiplied by 42. We'll use the associative property to associate together the 10. Oh, crazy drawing. 10 times 42, which is easy to do. So it's going to be 6 times, oh my goodness, I'm writing crazy cakes here. Golly, what's wrong with my head? All right, so 10 times 42 is, right, 420. Got to slow down, maybe. All right, so now this one's going to require a little, I'm going to use a little scratch space here. 6 times 20 is easy to do. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. Okay, 120. And then 6 times 400. Oh, yeah, okay, so it's going to be 6 times 4 times 100. 6 times 4 is 24, 24 hundreds, 2400, also known as 2,400. And you can see quite easily here what our total is, right? 0, 2, 5, 2. All right, so 2,520. Beautiful, look at that. Can you believe? Oh my goodness, what's next? Number 4? Is that the last one? No, there must be more than that. Come on, it is too easy. Let's take a look. Well, all right, in number 4, they throw us a little curveball here. We will again, thankfully, use the distributive property to solve the following. No use of place value disks. But in this case, they want us to distribute the second factor. So this looks a little different. It's no more difficult, though. We can hand it. So we're going to say here, okay, we have 40 times 43. So we can think of that as 40 times, well, look here, 43. We have 40 and we have 3. So we can think of it as 40 times 40 together with 40 times 3. And this is a pretty similar, or it's exactly the same as what we did when what we called partial products, right? So we're just breaking it down into steps. And so look how simple this is. 40 times 40. Okay, can we do that? Yes, we can. One way to think of that, and we'll do kind of an intermediate step here, is we have 4 times 10 times 4 times 10, right? So it's like doing 4, I'm going to just rearrange the numbers using a commutative property, right? 4 times 4 times 10 times 10, which we can associate like this. So that's 16 times 100, which is 1600s. Now, there are all sorts of shortcuts. People will tell you how to do this. And I've used them myself. I've taught them. But that's a good logical way of thinking about it there is 16 times 10 times 10, or 16 times 100, 1600s. Okay, so 1600. Now, much easier, of course, is 40 times 3, 40, 80, 120. And if you want, we can add it over here where we already wrote 1600. We're going to add in 120, right? Just going to kind of separate that off. And that's 0, 2, 6 and 1 are 7, 1. Okay, you might have been able to do that in your head. So 1,720. And that makes sense. Good. All right, so now same thing over here. We're going to say 70. And we have 20, and we have 3, 23. So 70 times 20 we'll do first. And then we'll do 70 times 3. Great. So 70 times 20, now that we see how this works, okay, we wrote it out over here. Now it's going to be easier, right? We know it's going to be 7 times 2 times 100. So 14 hundreds. 1400s. 1400, 1,400. And then here, 70 times 3, 70, 140, 210, right? All right, and you probably add these in your head. Can you? Well, yeah, the only thing that's really needs to be added is in the hundreds place there, right? So 1,000, 400, and 200 is 600. 10. Guess what you just did? You just finished your homework. Nice job. All right, so I'll see you again next time. It is once again homework time.